Today, I'd love to talk to us this morning about guidance. When was the last time that you needed to be guided? When was the last time that you guided someone? Actually, for Rachel and I, just this last 48 hours, we thought we were being really helpful in helping this elderly gentleman with the Ringo car park app. Anyone else have problems with that Ringo car park app? And we found ourselves really trying to help him. Like, we went above and beyond. We were late for a coffee with some people actually that are here. We're sorry for that. And as a result of it, what we ended up doing, we didn't just guide him in the wrong way, but we ended up creating a duplicate email, confusing the situation even more. And the poor guy was left in a worse situation than when he asked us for help in the very first place. And I found myself thinking just over the last 24 hours, do you know, I found that situation really annoying. I found it really frustrating. Actually, I really struggled to be patient in that moment because I wanted to get on to the next thing. I wanted to not be late for our meeting, and I wanted to actually be able to help him in a good space of time. And it got me thinking, I wonder whether any of us have ever had that situation where you've been trying to guide someone, but they just haven't really got what you're saying. Maybe your child, and you're trying to tell them not to walk on the road without holding your hand. Or maybe it's a colleague who, for whatever reason, is just frustrating you and they're not following guidance. Or maybe it's a family member and you want to have a good relationship with them, but for whatever reason, they're just not playing ball in the season that you're in. Well, it's interesting because the psalm we're looking at today is Psalm 23. It's a psalm known as the Psalm of David, and we'll know the psalm. Maybe best known for some of us by Coolio, the rapper, maybe not him, but more likely the Vicar of Dibley. The reason it's significant is because David wrote this psalm when he realized, gosh, how annoyed I get with people, how annoyed I find my life at times, when he was looking back on his life as a shepherd with the sheep. How much more patient, caring, loving with us is God than we are? How much more annoyed do you think God gets with us? And the reality is, he is gentle in his guiding in our lives. And I don't know about you, but I need that reminder again today that actually we serve a God who gently guides us, who is always ready to listen to our problems, is always ready to help us, and will never make situations worse than they were in the first place. Let's read together Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd. I have all that I need. He lets me rest in green meadows. He leads me beside peaceful streams. He renews my strength. He guides me along right paths, bringing honor to his name. Even when I walk through the darkest valley, I will not be afraid, for you are close beside me. Your rod and your staff protect and comfort me. You have those moments, don't you, where you try your best to not lose it, to shout at someone that's annoying you. David is in this moment realizing, oh my word, God, you're so patient with me. You're so much better with me, even when I'm being tricky. And he's realizing that because he's remembering his days as a shepherd with the sheep. What David is acknowledging is actually that he is, in fact, like his sheep. Like this sheep. Stupid looking, nature's natural victim. They don't know how to find water on their own, how to find green pastures on their own. Without help, they're in trouble. They have no sense of direction. They're not like a dog that can sniff their way back to an owner, or a homing pigeon that will win a contest, or salmon that can return from the ocean to the river that they were born in, traveling up to 1,000 miles away. What David is saying to us and reminding us of today is that we're not good when we do things on our own. We're not good when we try and survive on our own. We drink from the wrong places. We eat the wrong things. We lie down where it's unsafe to lie down. And the good news, though, is if we're the sheep, then God is the shepherd. And the truth is, if you don't know it already, Jesus wants to be your shepherd today, because we need a shepherd. It says in verse 1, the Lord is my shepherd. I have all that I need. I have a shepherd. You have a shepherd. In fact, all of London has a shepherd. It's whatever you're choosing to follow daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, making your priority, what you're building your life on, your work, your friends, your feelings, your career. Because everybody builds their life on something, don't they? We all want to build our life on something, to be guided by, to be shielded by, to be driven by. But only if you can start the verse like David did, can you finish it like David did. The Lord is my shepherd, and as a result, I have all that I need. Because Jesus plus everything equals Jesus. Jesus is everything we need. Jesus is enough. And he's inviting us, some of us today for the very first time, or he's inviting some of us back into an opportunity to say yes again to him, to be led by him and to follow him. I don't know when you think about our culture, what you think about, but I think about a culture that tells me to lead yourself. Go and be your own boss. Go and make your own way. You can do it. You don't need people around you to help you. And by the way, look how that's turning out. Just need to look at the news this last week to see what happens when we put our trust in ourselves. And like that, the sheep are prone to wander. So are we. I think some of us live our lives, and I know I have at times. Jesus is my shepherd, but actually, I'm going to try this my own way. But actually, I'm going to skip the accountability thing because I want to just kind of do it on my own. Actually, Jesus is my shepherd, but I'm going to follow my own instincts. I'm going to follow the crowd. I'm going to do what I want because I want to be happy. Can I introduce you to Barak? This sheep, Barak, poor chap, he wandered off and was found after being guided back by rescuers in Australia from a mission farm sanctuary. His wool, by the time he arrived back, and when it was eventually sheared, he put on 75 pounds, weighing him down. He couldn't see properly. The buildup of manure and urine was causing infection. And his transformation video, which for the TikTok lovers, has had 18.5 million views. The world record for a sheep's fleece weight was actually 41.1 kg. Very close for Barak, but not quite the Guinness Book of Records. He wandered off. But sheep need meticulous care. The next slide will show Barak after he had everything shorn off. It's true though, isn't it? We can so easily be the same. We can go off on our own and we can find ourselves being weighed down by life, and we can have things on us and in us, working through us, that are not good for us. And it was only because he was rescued that he survived and had that weight taken off him. There's a story similar to that in the gospel about Jesus who goes after the one lost sheep, puts him on his shoulders and carries him home to the 99. Barak is a modern day example of that story. Sheep need meticulous care, and so do we. There's something about the narrow path that the sheep traveled on. So what would happen is you'd have fields of grain on either side of the narrow path, and there would be a temptation for the sheep. I wonder if this sums any of us up. One little nibble into the field, they go, another nibble, until it's deeper and deeper the sheep would be in the field. Soon the sheep would be lost, would potentially be lost from the rest of the flock. And when sheep go solo, as Barak has reminded us this morning, they get in trouble. They eat things they shouldn't eat. They drink things they shouldn't drink, and they lie down in places they shouldn't lie down. And it's similar for us. The minute we take a nibble to the side of the path that God has us on, we can find ourselves little by little further and further and further away from him and what he has for us. It's easy to get off the path though, isn't it? Compromises, they build up slowly. No one wakes up one morning and thinks, oh, how can I ruin my day today? It happens over time, over silly decisions made over time. But the same thing happens to us on the inside as well. Slowly but surely, we begin to compromise. Maybe our time with God, we maybe make excuses for not connecting with people. Maybe we think, oh, I don't need accountability in this season. Before you know it, you're off the path and you begin to wander off. Jesus offers us his guidance, but there is a temptation and an internal resistance. Jesus is my shepherd, but I wonder what that but is for you today. And I think actually this is a matter of expectations as well. You think about it, the reality of your situation is different from your expectations. Then the amount of disappointment you'll feel will be the amount of gratitude you will give. There should be a slide coming up right now. If your expectations are right up here and the reality of life is here, then you'll live in the disappointment zone. Whereas if your expectations are low and your reality is here, then you'll live in the gratitude zone. Has anyone ever overpromised and underdelivered to you? Actually, I make a joke of this sometimes with Rachel. I say, darling, I'll be back by midnight. This is on a normal work day. And I will still aim to be back for 5 p.m. for dinner time, bedtime, bath time. But the reality is that actually Jesus' reality is so much more beyond anything that we can have planned for ourselves. He has far more for you than you'll ever understand. And so we end up feeling left astonished with the plans he has for us. Think about the promises God gave David. They were exponential promises of rest, of a son who would do incredible things, kingdom to last forever, to name a few. But it's interesting, isn't it? All of those promises came to fruition either at the end of his life or when he was dead. Jesus envisions us exponentially, and I believe he's done that. I know he's done that for many of you because we talk about it. But he guides us incrementally towards it, little by little. I know that was the story for me when I heard that call, when I was working in banking, living in Jersey, following a path that actually a lot of people, myself included, were really enjoying and felt was what I was supposed to do. And the call of James, I'm calling you to leadership in the Church of England in the future. Go now. That was 12 years ago. Step by step, he leads us. Nothing happens straight away. And the reality is, nothing in life actually trains us to be patient, does it? I know, well, my phone's down there, but I know with my phone that to do what I want my phone to do, it's got to go from my phone to space, to Earth, back to space, back to my phone. But if it would just go a little bit quicker than the speed of light, that would be great. But I've been pondering on this week because, who remembers when we were growing up, the floppy disk? Error. Jesus takes his time. He takes his time. It's what he wants for us. He wants us to feel deeply. He wants us to go through the emotions. It's part of being human. It's part of being fully alive. It's about engaging with him in every season. It's said that time is God's way of stopping everything from happening at once, and space is God's way of everything happening to you. Time and space are given to us from the Creator. Although it's painful waiting, there must be something in it as well. Just think about if you are on social media, how quickly you can just skim the comic, the horrendous, and everything else in between. We've become used to just looking at information, it going in, going out, not feeling. Part of the journey of this Christian walk is being molded into the people we're called to be by going through the journey he calls us to go on. And it's for his name's sake. It's never about us. One of my highlights of the Olympics was seeing the 400-meter hurdler for America, Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone. And she beat her world record again. I think this is the 5th time she's beaten it. And she is known to be the fastest woman 400-meter hurdler over the last number of years, ever. World record holder. And what does she say? I credit all that I do to God. Give God the glory. As we were worshiping, and Sam said that, let's put Jesus on our lips. Let's make his name above every other name. Because the loudest voice in our lives needs to be his and not our own. And this is good news, I think, because it means we don't have to live with that heavy burden of it all has to be about me. It all has to be about me succeeding. It all has to be about my name. It all has to be about how many followers, how many friends, what difference I can make. It's all pointing to Jesus. Verse 2 describes how the sheep are made to lie down. Because if they lie down in the wrong place, like a depression or a divot in the ground, it can be fatal for the sheep. If they lie down in the wrong place, they can end up dying because they can no longer stand. And it's described by a farmer as a car sheep is a very pathetic sight. Lying on its back, its feet in the air, it flails frantically, trying to stand up without success. It lashes about in frightened frustration. I don't know if anyone's in that place right now where you feel a bit frustrated, where you feel a bit frightened. He's saying to us today through his word that he is with you right now. You don't need to be frustrated or frightened. He can pick you up from wherever you are, wherever you may have laid down or made some decisions that feels like this was final. And he picks you up and he carries you and he says, hey, get back on the path with me today. And the way we do that is we just follow. We follow sometimes through tough times. We follow even though I walk through the darkest valley. As David said, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. This is one of those even though I will verses. Even though I will. David is saying, even though war breaks out against me, I will be comforted. And David went through it. He probably knew a life of brutality and conflict and grief. Many of us will maybe never know. And the reality is, we know this, we're going to get valleys. We're going to go through tough times. And you might even find yourself today thinking, Jesus has led me here, into this season, into this moment. Why has he allowed that to happen? Well, two things. God is going to go through them with us. Firstly, he leads us through. He leads us through. That means we walk through the valley because God is with us. We can walk through it because he is beside us. We don't settle in the valley. We don't set up camp in the valley. We keep walking. We just follow. We keep trusting because in following Jesus, we're not promised a perfect situation, but we are promised the perfect Savior. The good news of the gospel for us again today is that no matter the circumstances we're in, whether we're sick, we're poor, whether we're broke, whether we're rich, whether we're healthy, whether we're going through valley or we're dancing on the mountaintop, Jesus doesn't change. He's the good shepherd. He's the same yesterday, today, and forever. And when there's security in that knowledge, as a Christian, as a child of God, there is freedom in the way we live and we do our lives for his glory, not for ourselves, but for his name. We have to have security in the source, Jesus. It's like being the metal in the blacksmith shop. The blacksmith has to pound the metal, and the metal goes through all of these traumatic experiences. It's stuck in water, and it's heated, and it's scalding hot, and we go through all of that. And it's a reminder of what we are like as followers of Jesus, conformed into the image of his Son, as we're reminded in Romans 8:29. That's how we get righteous. That's how we do right life with him, by being conformed into his image. And secondly, it's only a shadow. It's only a shadow. I don't know if you ever get disorientated at night and have like a moment and think, what is that? And you realize, oh, it's actually just Rachel's hat and a dress, and it's actually not someone in the room. That's a relief. Well, the other day, one of my sons got scared. He said, there's a monster in the room. And I walked in and I thought, gosh, it looks like there's a monster in the room. It was actually this. He actually looks like a monster, but he's also a loved monster in our house. But in the wrong angles and with the wrong lighting, that can look a lot more imposing than it actually is as a cuddly toy. We just have to turn the lights on. The reality is no shadow will harm you. The shadow of a knife cannot cut you. The shadow of a wall cannot stop you. And the shadow of the cross does not say it's finished, but it says that we have life because of what he has done for us already. One of my greatest privileges is, as a priest, is spending time with people in their last moments in life. The shadow of death cannot stop them from encountering Jesus Christ. We can know peace and hope because of what he has done for us. Even in the dark, the sheep still recognize the voice and know which direction to walk in. And finally and quickly, he always protects. The picture is of the shepherd with a staff to guide, gently guide and direct. But also have the rod to warn off the enemies, the wolves, the lions, to comfort and to protect. That's the picture of Jesus for us today, that he guides you in the right direction. Every now and then he might give you a little yank back and put you back on path, but he does that gently. He never forces anything. He encourages us back, but he is protecting us far more than we'll ever know. Some of us, we need to reminder this morning, at this point in the summer, this point just over halfway in the year, that Jesus is the guide that we need to follow. He is the one who has all the answers. He is not a hired hand as it's described in John. He's not an opportunity to go to for advice and then to be left to do it on your own when you have no more money. He is there every single moment of every single day, of every single week, of every single month, of every single year. And he's the guide that says to us again, I'm here. Gently get back on path. Trust me, whatever you're going through, because I'm a good shepherd. Let's stand together and pray for a moment. Jesus, we thank you for this morning. We thank you for your word. We thank you for this time we've had of worship together as a community. We pray now, Holy Spirit, you would come and minister to us. Just if you know it's where you're at right now, you just say, actually, really simply, and it's fine if it's no one, but you just say, actually, I'm slightly off path right now. I'll just ask you to do a brave thing and just raise a hand. We're just going to get the prayer team just to begin to walk around as we close the service today. And Sam's going to come up and just lead a little bit in the background. But if you know you'd love prayer this morning for anything, and particularly that area of you feel like you've slightly gone off track, just make this a moment of, I want to receive this morning. I want to get back on path, follow the Good Shepherd again. And there was a word around refreshment, which is another part of this passage. I believe God wants to refresh us afresh this morning. For many of us, it's felt like we've almost kind of like felt dry. It has felt like we are in that kind of valley time, and we need that fresh revelation, that fresh touch from the King.